So, to start with, Spearmint says, I also like to know what kind of work you did or expected to do before being a full-time D&D guy. I used to be a front-end web developer back in San Francisco, and before that, I ran my own sort of like tech consulting business way back in the day for corporate real estate developers and sellers. It was less fun.
And this is 100% what you do now, right?
Yeah, all I do is Twitch stream and D&D for the last 5 years.
That is just
6
so
years?
cool.
5.5 years. That. Let's see. When building out a world and a political base for that world, how far down the rabbit hole and of what type of world that has what? Hold on. How far down the rabbit hole of what a type of world that has people in it that can literally speak things into existence looks like do you go? I have no idea what that question means.
So I think what he's asking is how do you rationalize the kind of craziness of D&D? People like talking animals and people who have crazy spells and can do almost anything. Like, how do you rationalize that in trying to build a realistic world where you're trying to kind of make everything mesh together? Like, how do you as a DM sort of like figure that out?
Well, that's sort of kind of the purpose of everything I'm doing, because we've got all these different campaigns. They're all set in the same world, and the idea is that each campaign adds to the history of the world, and that builds on top of each other. So, for me, the next however many years I'm Twitch streaming is this question, essentially. Like, we are going to build a history for Arcadia and for Solemn and all these other areas based on player actions and player decisions, with the understanding that the player characters are going to probably be the biggest, most powerful, most influential characters in the game, and that's why we're doing a story about them. And then anything else is of lesser power around. There'll be a few NPCs here and there, and you'll need some set assets ahead of time, but generally I follow the principle of, unless it's happened in-game, it doesn't necessarily exist. So that gives me a lot of wiggle room. And what was the other principle? I had 2 ideas. Fucking wing it, man. You fucking wing it. Use the players as an example.
How much of it is like, one of the things that I'm actually wondering, kind of like based on your world building, how much of it is like a plan, and how much of it are you just like literally improvising because the party does some crazy shit and you're like, okay, and then you just like do a 180?
So I do a lot of planning.
Okay.
I do a lot of prep work, and I do a lot of sort of figuring out the world as a sandbox. Like, one might design a jungle gym, but when the kids play on the jungle gym, you don't say, now you go across these handlebars, now you go to the swing, right? You just like let them play in the jungle gym. So that's kind of my approach, is I will build a jungle gym, and if you guys want to run around in it, you can do whatever you want in the jungle gym, and I don't really give a shit what you do, but here's the tools to do it. So a lot of planning, but none of it really matters, and most of it gets thrown away, and most of what I say and do and you see on screen is improvised on the spot.
That's I mean, I remember when we were playing in like episode 1 or 2, I think like Locke asked or Destiny asked like a very like innocuous question, was like, well, how far is that town from this town? And you immediately answered in miles how far it is. So that's like a kind of a glimpse into the preparation that Koibu does over these things. That was insanely impressive to me. I remember that moment.
That's fun. Next question is from Blake. What made you want to host your own games on Twitch for yourself and other streamers? Nothing. Here's the fun story. I said I was doing this web development job. Well, I stopped in San Francisco and was just chilling, unemployed for a while, having some time off, not really doing anything, living with my older brother in San Francisco, and his company closed, and so he, sold off his stock, and the two of us were living together, sitting around, drinking and playing Counter-Strike all day, every day, when JP McDaniel, a streamer, sent out some sort of tweet about, like, I want to get into D&D, does anyone know how to run a D&D game? And I was super into the StarCraft at the time, and had been out to all the esports events for years, and like knew his mods and sort of like knew people in the area, but I didn't know JP himself. And so I replied being like, I have this on lockdown, I've got the experience, let's do it. And he picked me up to run a game for him, which was called Roleplay. And we did that for a couple of years, and 6 months into that project, I wasn't a streamer. I was just chilling at home doing this for funsies, not getting really. I think I got paid after a little while, but initially, like it was just like for fun. Like this was great. And his viewers started asking me to stream, and I wasn't doing any. I was playing video games anyway, so like, might as well, I guess. And then within like, I want to say like 6 weeks, it became financially solvent to do it full time. So
6
I just got
weeks?
super fucking yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It got bonkers really quickly, and then I just said, well, this is fun. I shouldn't stop. And then I didn't. The rest is history. What's the most interesting abuse of a mechanic? Who cares? There's fucking millions of abusive mechanics. They're all interesting, and none of them are interesting at the same time.
Invincible hut with an owl that could breathe dragon's breath outside of it.
How many players is too much? 6. 6 is the hard cutoff. You can do 5. 5 is pushing it, but you can do it. Don't run a game with more than 6 people, or 6 or more people, if you can help it.
So this is ironically, this is exactly the same as the kind of classic executive question, which is like, how many reports is too many direct reports? So if you like, how many people do you want to have under you? And ideally, it's 4 to 6. But 6 gets like pretty stressful, and like 4 to 5 is a pretty great number. Yeah, I'd say.
Around when you have 7 people in a group talking, it sort of starts to fall apart. For some reason, at 7 people, we split into like groups of 3s and 4s or 3s and 2s. Just that's sort of the natural human thing to do, I guess.
Yeah.
So
even on shows like Critical Role, like 6 feels like a lot. It's really a lot. Yeah.
Favorite class and alignment combination to play? I don't care about alignment. I refuse to acknowledge its existence. But I play human fighters.
Variant humans?
Fucking doesn't. I mean, 2nd edition, 5th edition, Starfinder, Pathfinder, whatever want. Human fighter. I'm happy with that. That's my jam.
Got it.
How do you balance the in-game effects of various PCs, giving you're running multiple campaigns in the same world? I just don't worry about it.
Really?
Like if GTC all of a sudden here's a classic example, which will contain a few spoilers for past shows, but it doesn't matter. In Hardcore Heroes, the players end up doing some interdimensional travel. So half the party gets sucked into the Shadow Realm, and we split the party and we split it into 2 different shows that run parallel in time. And the other party that's still in Arcadia at some point decides to launch a rescue mission. They find a portal to the Shadow Realm that they've known about all along. And they go through it, and they get on the other side, and they're like, we don't know if we can open the door from the other side. We don't want to test it. Let's just leave the door open, do our shit for a couple of weeks in here, and then head back out. Shadow Realm happens to be overrun by demons, and they leave the door open, and when they come back to the door, it's just a Congo line of demons, like, walking through into the Prime Materia plane, which is like a simple, they just sort of forgot to shut the door. And because of that, the entire continent, the entire kingdom of Eridon,
that's why the demons are
crushed by demons. Some fucking asshole forgot to close the door, and that's why the country got overrun by demons.
What?
So I don't worry about balancing things. I just let people do what they want to do, and if it has disastrous side effects, all the more fun. Yeah. Yeah.
So it had to be the wizard, right?
There were 2 wizards at the time.
Oh, God.
And they both went through the doorway, and they had a conversation about, do we close it? Do we not close it? And it was like on a tower, on a mountain, so it seemed safe. And they're like, fuck it. It's fine.
And so that translates into we're all the way down here. I've got a picture of the map. We're all the way down here in God, we're far. We're in Fenden. And someone is like, yeah, there's a bunch of demons up there. They killed everything. We have no idea what happened.
Player characters is what happened. Yeah. Yeah. What's the funniest death of any players?
Ooh.
Someone tried to teleport on top of a dragon and missed his dex save. And so he just fell the thousands of feet to his death. That was pretty funny. They had a ring of wishes and they rewound time to undo that, so he didn't end up dying for realsies, but he did try and teleport on a dragon and missed. That was pretty good. Oh, and the other player tried to catch him, and she died too, because he like fell 1,000 feet into her arms, and they just like splattered on the ground.
Could he cast like was he a wizard or he just?
No, he was a fucking ranger, a wizard, a cleric opened a dimensional doorway between him and the dragon above, and it was just off.
Okay.
It was good.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever had any thoughts of connecting the other campaigns together? Fucking Sushi, that's all it is. It's all one interconnected campaign, bro. Favorite character you've played? Meh, whatever. I'm working on a world for a group of friends that I run. I've worked out the basic principles of the world and different political structures and different factions. I'm starting to get overwhelmed with the amount of information, and I think I need to make it feel good for the players. So my question is, how do you decide where to start GTC? I can't tell you how I decided that because there's plenty of plot hooks and things from the origin story that I don't want to spoil here. But it sounds like you've done way too much work. The biggest problem for DMing is over-planning, which you get really hooked on your storylines and you want to see them through. The players ignore shit. Don't plan it out. If you want to run a game, then of course you can do anything you want. But generally, just try and plan out what you need for that session without doing too much. It's like starting your own business. If you I'm going to start a web development business. So immediately, I'm going to buy web hosting. I'm immediately going to get my business license. I'm immediately going to pay up all these upfront costs that I know I'm going to need. It's the wrong way to go about it. If you want to run your business, generally speaking, you wait until you have to pay a cost before you pay it. Same thing with D&D. You wait to invest the time to plan your shit until you need to do it. Did that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, it's a great answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. How much time is spent thinking out the potential scenarios or outcomes for pre-constructed missions or quests? Dude, I don't pre-construct missions or quests. Most of this shit is on the fly.
That is
Some
insane.
Some of these things are planned out ahead of time. Very few of them. So, very little time. Does this give you any additional stress that your party might be just... I don't care about negative outcomes. So my rule as a DM is it doesn't matter what the party does. It matters how and why they do it. If you guys want to cut an ogre into pieces, that's fine. I don't really care. I just want to know how and why you do it so we can play out those things. So
more interested in what would happen, right? Like how does the world respond to what's happening? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the meat behind the action?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever run ranked campaigns outside of Roll20? I used to do it in person, which is 100,000 times better than doing it online. If you can run a game or be in a game played at a table with people directly face to face, do it that way. Please do it that way.
What do you think the difference is? Is it the feeling or what do you think
It's the ability to communicate with people. So if we're all sitting around the table and Midori is telling me, well, here's this prayer that I want to give to my God. If we're all in a Zoom call or whatever, you guys all have to be listening to that or looking at shit on your browser. If we're at a table together, Midori and I can talk. And the three other of you guys can hold your own conversation on the side. But also when you're talking to people, you actually see them, right? Usually, I don't know about you guys, but when we're in a call, I don't always have the Zoom window open. I don't always see you. And being able to constantly see people and see body language is super important. And communicating with a person face-to-face is way easier than over the internet because of body language. So much gets said by what you do and how you do it. And the ability to lean over here and do that. Also, in an in-person game, when there's a confusion about what you want to do, you can get the person and be like, well, show me. And then, we've had examples where one of my players wanted to climb on the back of another person and jump at a giant. And he was like, oh, it's really easy just to run up someone's back. So we went out into the front yard and had him try and run up somebody else's back for 20 minutes, which was amazingly fun. And of course it didn't work. And we're like, okay, well, that's how that rule works. Cool. And we came back in and changed it. So being in the same location with someone allows you just to be more immersed in everything.
That's awesome.
And then you order food together and you're having pizza and you're having drinks and the whole conversation gets distracted. And in 8 hours of playing, you only play D&D for 2 hours, but it's so much more fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Blah, blah, blah. Is there a setting or style of show that you wanted to do? No. I sort of had a thing that I wanted to do, and the party went in the exact opposite direction. But I'll just save that concept for later. And I won't tell you what it is because it would reveal story details that are not obvious yet. How has GTC surprised you the most? Dude, they're playing like good characters. Like Locke is a good person at his heart. I've never seen it before.
I didn't think Destiny was capable of it.
He's doing the right thing for moral reasons. It's amazing. I'm blown away by it.
Yeah.
Blown away.
So the way that the characters have evolved has surprised you the most? Like everybody getting into character?
Yeah. You guys many of you seem fairly new, but you've all gotten in really deeply. I know you have a lot of experience, but like I've been very impressed with the play from the players. Specifically, I don't want to. God, you're all so good. No, you've all been fantastic. You've all shined in different ways, and I'm very impressed and very happy.
I
think it helps that you guys are all friends with chemistry already.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think there's something kind of like special to be said about everyone. Lily really, like I think from episode 5 and on, when she really got into her character and started to kind of like figure out Midori, you could tell she started to have fun and was just like so passionate about the show. It's been such a cool experience playing with her. And Barbo has like really started to focus on being true to his character to a fault, right? He's become like really amazing with that. And I think Locke is getting into character, like you said, and like being a real just being like this is what my character would do. This is how I would respond to these situations. Really thinking about how he interacts with the world and like bringing up these things that happen to his character. For people that don't have experience in Dungeons and Dragons, it's so cool to see people breathe life into your world like this, right? Like, because a lot of people, it's hard for them to think, I'm a character in a world. I don't effectively exist in this boring Earth place. I exist in this fantastical realm that my DM has created. What would my character do? It took me like hundreds and hundreds of hours of playing Dungeons and Dragons to do that, and maybe thousands of hours of role playing. And for them, it's come so naturally and quickly. It's just awesome to see.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I already answered those. How do you as a DM handle a player that is not having an enjoyable time with the game? I guess I haven't had that happen ever. Have I? No, I don't think I've ever played with someone who wasn't having a good time too.
He uses a specific example. He says in episode 5, I think you actually did something that was pretty cool. And he just reminded me of it, the question asker. When Midori, I think Midori was like a little bit lost, not only, and you're kind of like role playing the goddess, the death goddess, to kind of give her that direction.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the worst fight you have gotten into with a player? long time ago, like 2004. Me and my buddies were playing, and I was wanting a more serious tone to the game, and one of our friends was wanting, like, he had just done something ridiculous. I don't even remember what it was. And we like ended that campaign because it got out of hand, and I was being like a stupid, pissy teenager, being like, "You're not taking this D&D seriously enough, buddy." And so we made new characters, and we came back to play again. I was going to run the next campaign as well, and I asked him to introduce himself, and he was like a minotaur with a blue mohawk covered in 007 tattoos. And I fucking just gave up, and we didn't talk to each other for the rest of that summer break because I was so pissed off at him. Maybe not for the rest of that summer break, but like, we just fucking had to cut ways for a little while. When school started again, we of course got back together and we played for years and years after that. It was fine in the end, but I was pissy. He was, making jabs. It was frustrating. It's now a great story. One of my favorite stories.
A minotaur with blue skin?
A blue mohawk or something like that.
Blue
It was
mohawk.
like a purple mohawk, or it was just like ridiculous. There were more details that I've forgotten over the time, but 007 logos, like there's James Bond in our fictional world. Like, what the fuck, dude? And blue mohawk minotaur, I couldn't handle it. This
guy shows up looking like the genie from the new Aladdin movie and gets the same response as the internet thought of it.
Yeah. What's some big effects your campaigns have had on others? Also, is the vampire fucking with other campaigns? Yes, we just saw a 2-part shenanigans episode about the fallout of Cassandra.
Yeah, Cassandra.
Yeah.
So she's done other stuff in the world?
Yeah, if you want to see what that was, you can watch the shenanigans episode called Ham's Quest and the follow-up Ham's Quest 2. Shenanigans is a very different style of show. It's usually pretty goofy and pretty silly and very non-serious. So it'll have a different tone. The first part only has 1 player, and the second part has 2 players involved. And it's interesting and weird and fun. What tools were used to make the map? Photoshop and brushes, sketchy cartography brushes. Is your world the same world back when you ran Solemn? Solemn is one continent. Arcadia is another continent.
Same world, though? Same Earth?
World. I still don't have a name for my planet yet. It's been like 5 years, and I still don't know what to call it.
Planet Barbo.
Can you show us an edited version, episodes chopped up into 20 minutes or so videos, or at least a spot with all of the episodes so far? I'm not going to put together a recap episode for you on the fly, buddy. Beyond the scope of this project.
That's a lot of work, yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
It's already who maintains the wiki? It's already an amazing amount of work. Whoever does that.
McTacky almost single-handedly maintains the wiki.
Oh, that makes sense.
He has just recently got a few other people to help him out, and they've been adding to it and really working on it, and it's a beautiful thing. The wiki, of course, is hopefully made by everyone, so if you would like to contribute to it, we would love to have you here.
That actually makes perfect sense because this guy shows up in my Discord, and he's like, Mylixia, like in the world of Koibu, like in Wicca throwing a Renta in the year 1505, like Koibu, and I'm like, how the hell does this guy know this stuff?
Dude, he knows everything. McTacky knows everything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
La 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 la.
This question: Would you rather fight 100 Gerald-sized hill giants or 1 hill giant-sized Gerald? You would never want to fight 100 Gerald-sized hill giants because they can all cast spells the same as. See.
I think fighting 1 hill giant-sized Gerald would be great because then you could just not fight him and hang out with a giant Gerald playing a giant bagpipe.
It's true.
Like that just seems like the way to go. You make friends with the giant Gerald. It'd be awesome. What's the biggest, most frustrating derail in GTC? Dude, there's no such thing as derailing. There's no derailing if your game is not on rails to begin with. Your world tends to be very low magic. When do you determine it's okay for party to start getting magical items? Ooh. At any point in time. We have a major storyline that involves like a 1st or 2nd level wizard running across an artifact of ungodly power. And like the storyline stretches out how this like good-natured wizard discovers this evil artifact. And without any like mechanical, like you now have to behave in this way, the story sort of in the background turns into like how this good-natured party boy wizard turns into like this evil monster just because he's got like an evil artifact that mechanically makes it incentivized to murder. And it's great. I love it. It's called that's the Dicing with Death character Georg if you're interested. Also, how do you select what items they get? I don't know, man. How do you like decide what to have for breakfast? Same.
Do you literally rolled off the treasury table for the dagger of right?
Yeah, this time I just wanted something random, and I thought I'd pull out the old 2E Encyclopedia Magicas with 5 billion magic item combinations in them.
So one time, I have a short story about this. My maximum level was 23. Greyhawk Wizard. Legitimately rolls a this is so many years ago. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember what's the name of the walking Baba the Yaga's hut?
Oh, Baba Yaga.
Off a treasure table. Rolls a legit. So Baba the Yaga's hut is a walking invulnerable hut on stilts that is like basically a mobile tank for Dungeons and Dragons in 2E. And I think they simplified the treasury tables a lot in 5E, right?
Maybe. I haven't looked at them. I don't use them, but I think so.
Yeah, 2E is so much better for treasury tables, and so like the DM had to like double and the Greyhawk DMs had to double and triple check that like I think it was one of those like 0 to like 1,000 rolls or 0 to 300 rolls, and like we ended up with a perfect 300. It was insane.
Nice. Do you shape future encounters around the new items they get? For example, were you planning on a very low light encounter when you provided the party with the shiny stone Barbo broke? Absolutely not. No way. Maybe very rarely, but like 99% of the time, I throw encounters that I think exist in the world or that I think are going to be fun or whatever seems to be appropriate, and I do not consider the party's gear or composition very much. I try not to, because I want it to be a living world that the party is in, not like a custom tailored, so just so the party can defeat this. And now that they got this item, here's an opportunity to use. No, here's an item. Find a way to use it if you want to use it. Otherwise, give it to a henchman or a hireling.
What about the time
items helps to buy loyalty?
What about the time that I scoured that entire cave except for that crevice and the giant spider came out?
I was like, is he gonna find it? Is he gonna find it? Is he gonna find it?
I'm still mad about it. Is he gonna find it? I'll be 85. I'll be 85 years old. I will open my eyes when I wake up and I'm like, damn it, I should have caught that spider.
Yeah. Sometimes moments like that are hard because the players missed something that they think they would have got, and then when you reveal what they missed, they think that you're like fucking cheating and trying to screw them over, and those are difficult to manage, and you guys were pretty good about it, so I'm happy with that.
For sure.
Yeah. Would you be opposed to gnomes with speech impediments in your game? Not to make them boring, but maybe a mumble rapping gnome instead of a straight up rhyming gnome. That's fine, whatever. Yeah. But I wouldn't say mumble rapping is a speech impediment. Like, if you got a speech impediment, that's fine, and if you want to rap, that's fine, whatever. How do you keep track of so many things? It's a full-time job, dude.
Yeah.
It's like 60 hours a week. That's how you keep track of it. You fucking live and breathe it every day. How do you feel when a party forgets their quest objective? Dude, there's no such thing as quest objectives. Whatever the party's looking at is the campaign. And if they change their mind on what they want to do, that's now the new story. So if they fuck off from one thing and they're interested in something else, who cares about that previous thing? It's still going to happen in the background, but like whatever the party's doing is the story. So you can't, there's no such thing as forgetting quest objectives, man. How do you feel about people using the world of Arcadia for their own campaigns? Fucking do it. I encourage you to. If you're gonna like make money off of it, please get in touch with me. So, that would be nice if we could talk, if that's the point. Is there a place where we can learn the history of Arcadia? Most of my notes are public. You can look at the wiki, and on regalgoblins.com in the toolbox, there's a link to all of the public documents that I have written.
You also have prep shows, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I've slowed them down because there's so many campaigns that I'm running now, so we don't do them as often. I'm getting a little stressed and burned out, and so I stopped doing so much planning publicly. Because I run like 4 campaigns a week and then play in 2 more, so I need a little bit more me time.
Yeah, 100%. That's so much D&D.
Yeah.
My God.
A lot.
Yeah.
Koibu, does it ever feel bad killing people's characters? Yeah, it feels terrible. Every time a PC dies, I'm like, ooh, I should have stepped in and not let that happen. Oh, well. And I feel bad. I feel really bad every time one of my players dies. But I do it anyway. It's my job.
Were we as close to a TPK on that fight today as I thought we were? I was going to get out.
Was dead, making death saving throws. All you needed was one more to fail.
Yeah.
Midori was 1 hit away from death. Barbo was 1 hit away from death. You would have been fine.
Yeah, I would have fit. I would have disappeared. Yeah, that would.
Actually,
God.
I think in retrospect, I forgot one thing. I think Destiny was supposed to take damage while he was being eaten by the snake. I think it deals 5 points of necrotic damage to you around while you're inside of it. So that would have forced a further failed death saving throw. No, it would have been fine in the end.
Yeah, maybe.
No, it would have been fine in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy. Yeah, we were so, and that's the real one was, and I think one of the craziest things I've ever seen in D&D was that skeleton fight. That was.
Oh yeah, They're just busted out with the fireball.
Yeah, well, the the 40 damage fireball, whatever it opened up, but just the Destiny or Locke bringing back that fight with like the yeah. Because remember you're just like, there's a really good clip of it. Have you seen the clip where you're just like, fuck it, the whole party's gonna die, and then Locke just busts out like 10 different like superiority die, like he goes through the whole thing and manages to drop it in one round. That was it was just so lucky. It was just so unbelievably lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, that was solid. That was good. Most fucked up thing a party has done. Well, it's either what we just witnessed. Or,
oh god,
in Shenanigans, we had an episode where they were trying to make a love potion, and part of it was they needed tears from a freshly broken heart. And I kind of thought that they would just like, romance someone and then break up with them. And instead, they also needed like a puppy dog tail or like one of those like fluffy sort of like good things. And so instead, they got a bunch of puppies and gave them to this like poor peasant girl and let her play with them, and then came back a few days later and like held her in place and murdered the puppies directly in front of her, and then cut off their tails.
God.
And then captured her tears and took the puppy dog tails and used it to make a love potion. That was pretty fucked up.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, I know. That episode is entitled The Dark One or something like that. It was bad. Guys, they were really bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Where can we buy a map of Arcadia? There is not a really good single point distributor since people live all over the world, but if you write me an email at koibu@regalgoblins.com, we can arrange it. It's basically on a case-by-case basis, and I'll put it in order with a printer in your part of the world, and then they will send you a printed version of the map. So
you're about to get a lot of emails.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the HP modifiers below in 5e compared to 2e? I have no comment on that. What was the most sure you were that a party would wipe, but they didn't? Fucking 20 years of D&D. Okay. All the questions that start with what is the most, what is the best, what is the, and you're talking about the extremes. I'm not going to answer any of them because there's too much history and like they all blend together, and after a while you get really fucking jaded. It's like saying like, what was your favorite moment in like a video game you play every day, all day? You're kind of like, I don't know, they're all great and they all suck.
D&D is about epic adventures. I mean, like there's so many moments to share that
How could you?
Yeah, how could you sing? Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What would it take for you to update the Love Bites intro with more modern music and camera work? It's perfect the way it is. Even if I had a budget of $1 million, I wouldn't touch it. Perfect. I wish I could show you guys that right now. It's amazing. A suggestion more than a question? Fuck off. I'm not taking suggestions.
Good job. Yeah, that is the absolute proper response to that.
Have you ever smiled during a campaign as hard as Will Lily PM'd you? Skipping.
Most questions will be bad.
Yeah. When you do sleep, do you do the session ending pretty late time? And sometimes I see you
He's asking when you sleep. Yeah.
Got it. I usually go to bed somewhere between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. and I wake up somewhere between 10 a.m. and noon.
Wow.
That's my schedule. Chill lifestyle. Decks of many things, never added to a campaign, guaranteed to ruin your campaign. Never use a deck of many things, ever.
Total shit show, yeah.
Are you a DM for hire? Yes, but I'm a little full on my campaigns right now. Do you ever randomly host D&D games for people on Roll20? It has happened, rarely. It's got to be a special situation. Whatever happened to the quest Midori was supposed to get from her god? Is there a quest that I missed from her god?
I think what he's referring to is that Midori. Not Ephra. Varashi said, after she sacrificed the goat, Varachi said, "You've done very well. I shall have a quest for you soon." That was probably what it referred to. But there's so much going on in this episode. There was probably no time to get to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The goddess is waiting for the right opportunity, and with Midori's PM today, It's all flowing together.
Oh boy! And none of us in the party know what that is. We don't. We have no idea what she sent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many campaigns do you run? I run 4 and play in 2 presently. One of the campaigns has 0 prep. That's shenanigans. I just show up and
Really?
we make up the entire session on the fly with absolutely no prep or foreknowledge. Like, maybe if I roll out of bed, I'll ask my wife, what should I do in shenanigans today? And she'll give me some weird prompt, and then we'll move on.
Is your wife a D&D player?
Nope.
So
She's played once or twice or whatever, but she'll say weird shit, and I'll just roll with it. Yeah. It's fun. La 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 la. Who's your favorite GTC character? Be honest. Is this from The Lily?
Wait, is
I
it?
think so. I think it's from A Lily. I don't know if it's The Lily.
Let me check.
It's the same spelling.
That is Lily. It's actually Lily. Yeah.
I love all my children equally, Lily. Don't ask questions.
That's a tough. That just puts you in such a corner, man. I mean, I don't know. I know he has an answer. I don't know if he will answer. But
I love all my children equally, just like your parents loved you and your siblings equally. They definitely never had a favorite. That's how I feel.
you did say at the beginning of today's episode that I was demoted to second favorite player.
Well, I just knew that would really get at you.
Oh, it did.
Yeah. It was a joke. I didn't mean it. How up to date is Koibu with Destiny's antics outside of D&D? 0.
Don't.
Complete bagel.
I give you some great advice. Keep up with your already way too busy full-time job, because it's another full-time job to understand all the bullshit that Destiny goes through. Yeah.
Fine. Will we ever see Dalamar again? Absolutely not. That was rookie mistake, bringing in an NPC from a book that I read as a kid.
Dalamar the Dark.
Ever. Yes, sir.
From Dragonlance.
You know your Dragonlance.
Oh, yeah. The Raceland's Apprentice. Dalamar is an awesome character, and Dalamar the Dark is such a good story, dude. Oh, the Sylvani Elf. Yeah, I remember that that was so the reason why I play a wizard in every MMO, every game, and everything that I can do is because of the book Dalamar the Dark.
Somewhere back. This is I don't know if you can see the shelf down here, but this is my 2 deep shelf of Dragon novels.
I totally
Here
can.
Is one of my most prized possessions in my life. It is the Dragonlance Chronicles in beautiful gold leaf hardback cover with annotated notes in the sides about the original author's intent, including all of their notes where they're talking about how this started out as a D&D game. So when you see Raceland cast this spell here, you know he's a 2nd level wizard from this position.
Yes. Do you remember when he slept the goblins in the one of the very
on the boat?
Yeah.
And he pulls out the rose petals, which is the spell component for sleep in 2nd edition.
Ah! Yeah. I love you so much now. That is amazing. Yeah, I had that was exactly what inspired me to be a wizard, was that entire storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What do you recommend to do to people who want to start playing D&D with no friends? LOL. Some online hub for finding parties. Well, you can check out my Discord. We have a Looking for Games channel in there that our mods curate, so it's just posts of people who are looking for players or looking for a game to join.
What is your
It's a great
Discord?
place to start.
So I can link it.
Discord.gg/Koibu? Maybe?
Is it? Does this work, chat?
I don't know. I think it used to be Regal Goblins, and I changed it to Koibu.
McTacky's got the link. I'm going to repost it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that you could check there. You can just check the Roll20 forums and try and find a group that way. It's a little harder. You can hire a DM. Dark Galaxies Gaming has like professional DMs that you can play under, and it's like I don't want to give them a price quote here because I don't remember, but it's like $5 or $10 a session.
That's so
cheap.
Oh my god.
You got people who are playing every session with you, who are putting in a little money so that they're all going to show up, and that's a way to go about it if you like. I think they usually do railed storylines, though. I don't know for certain. Or
there's
the
also
best way...
subreddits. Particularly for, I know this because Shadowrun is I've mentioned before a lot of times, is my absolute favorite universe. it is so hard to find Shadowrun games. I live in like the actual place where Shadowrun happened in Seattle, and it's impossible to find games here. So if you there's subreddits that are specifically made for, I know the Shadowrun ones is stuff like ShadowNet, but there are D&D equivalent subreddits. If you type in D&D subreddits, you'll be able to find active campaigns, and there's a whole registration system that you can roll a character, and you can be a persistent character in multiple campaigns that are hosted on the subreddit. It's awesome.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. Because you get to keep that. You don't have to keep re-rolling characters. You can play like a character from level 1. So in Shadowrun, there are actually like prime runners, like equivalent of like level 9 D&D characters that like run around these worlds and are persistent in it.
Yep. Dicing with Death seems interesting. Oh wait, one other. The best way I would encourage you to find a game to play in would be to look at your local game shop, even if it's in like town a few miles away, and they'll usually have an RPG night. And I know a lot of us are awkward nerds who don't like going into places that we don't know, where there's people we don't know, but fucking show up to one of these things, or just show up to the game shop and ask them when their RPG night is, or their D&D night, or whatever. And they'll have groups that are putting parties together around, and there will be a way to get in, and there will be new people that you won't know, and it'll be awkward, but once you get past your initial nerd awkwardness, it'll be great fun. I highly recommend that approach. Really worth it. Dicing with Death seems interesting. Do you find it more fun playing or DMing? I love to DM. Playing is fun, but I've become so like ADD from DMing all the time that as a player, I need more to do. Do you ever worry that either of you is incentivized to kill each other? No way, man. Dicing with Death is the game I've been running with Ryan. We've been playing for 20 years together. We broadcast these days on Thursday mornings. We're like this. We've been learning D&D from each other forever. So no incentivization to kill each other, but also no incentive to save each other. Like we just let it roll. How do you make a one-on-one D&D? Let alone play one? You just have one player and one DM, and then you just play.
Yeah.
Could you explain why your long rest is 7 days?
Oh no, the bait question.
God, I've gotten this so many times. I'm going to try and tone it down to a shorter answer here. 5e is sort of built for like small distance things where you like go into a goblin cave and you fight 100 goblins and you clear out the whole cave in like 1 day or 2 days. And that's just not how my world works. That sort of mentality works really well if you don't have a holistic view of your world. But when you're like dealing with sort of set numbers because you're running multiple parties in the campaign, if one group comes through and wipes out the goblins in this village, that goblin village won't be there in the future. So we have to use more realistic numbers of monsters. They can't just be infinite wherever you need, whenever you need them. So the resting rules stretched out to 7 days just slows down the pace of the party to a pace that matches the game better. It also helps when merging 5e and 2e game systems together because they function very differently. And if we have a long rest be 7 days, it helps to make them more on the same par. Because in 2e, you heal 1 HP per night. 2 HP if you've got a healer, 3 HP if you've got a healer with herbalism involved as well. If you got a cleric, that'll fix things as well. So we got to make sure everyone's operating at least on the same book, if not on the same page.
That's actually an insanely sensible reason that I never realized. I never heard you answer that way. Because like once
I just thought of it.
Yeah, it's really smart because like, well, if you go to Hillsborough now and you go to that cave, there's not a giant in that cave. There just isn't.
Yep.
So another party is not going to be able to encounter that giant. Yeah.
Side story, those giants that you guys slew in a Dicing with Death campaign were recruited by one of the hobgoblin who was in that hills as well to start a war against Redport, the town furthest to the east.
Oh.
Yeah, so those giants have like a deep history in this section of the world where they allied with these gnolls and they allied with these other monsters and they all tried to take Redport, the town, and they got rebuffed and the player character died at that point.
Whoa.
The hobgoblin. So you sort of have put a bookend on a pre-existing storyline that's been sitting there for 3 years now.
Wait, so Basically, those giants were like intelligent and partnered with an actual character to go like take over a town, failed, came back to live their life as a family. Then we just waltzed in and killed everybody.
3 years later, you guys waltz in and kill everybody.
That's terrible. Okay.
Yeah. That was the Silac character in Dicing with Death. He was a hobgoblin cleric, a shaman, but like a cleric of Rossi who was trying to help her invade Arcadia. And it didn't work out, and she abandoned her attempt after 2 player characters tried to help her out. What was the private prayer Midori made to her goddess? It was that all people whose names are Niv should be banned from Mylixia's chat. Unfortunately, her goddess hasn't quite, given it to her yet, but she's close.
Ducker Z, boys.
Are Hillsborough and Wake County named after the places in North Carolina? Absolutely not. It's called Wake County because the trade ships that head east to Solemn leave their wake at this place, because Redport is the major trading town with the people to the east. And so you see the wakes coming and going from this county.
That's Galaxy Brain.
And Hillsborough was probably named by chat. I'm really bad at naming shit. And so when we made the map, we let chat name things, which is how we got most of our names. La la la, la la la. How do you get players to buy into your game? I don't know what that means. How do you get new players into role-playing instead of treating the campaign like Skyrim? Just don't treat it like Skyrim, just treat it like D&D, and then you don't have to worry about it being treated like Skyrim. But I don't know what buy-in means. Do you, Mylixia? Devin?
Yeah, I think what he is trying to ask is, how do you get players kind of immersed in your campaigns? And I can answer this as a player in Koibu's campaign. It really helps when you have a whole world that is already in existence. So imagine popping into a world like Skyrim, but you aren't a person playing the video game. You're actually in Skyrim. It's not just it's so much different as a player, having played like thousands of hours of D&D, to go into a world that is pre-constructed, that is operating outside of you, right? Our party, the Barbo party, whatever we call ourselves or whatever, we could exist in Koibu's world, but if we don't exist in it's Arcadia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't exist in Arcadia, the world is still going. The world is still happening. History is still proceeding. So we aren't. There's a certain mindset. It's like we aren't the focus of Arcadia. We're in Arcadia, like playing out a story, but Arcadia is happening. And when a player feels like there's something bigger than them in the world, they get inspired to be more immersed in it. And that I think has been a huge part of why all of us in this campaign have gotten into this world so quickly.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer. Yeah. I'm the guy who did the whole poster thing on Twitter, just wondering how you deal with art for the campaigns you do, character art, concept, etc. Sometimes I hire an artist to do shit for me. I usually use Matthew Berger art. He streams on Monday on my channel, just doing some art stuff. He does a comic and some other things here and there. He's great, but it's really wonderful when the community at large creates art. And whenever I come across something, I store it in a folder just for personal use. Of course, I don't use any art that other people make unless they give me permission to do so. But the more stuff you guys bring in, especially if you make something and you say in the tweet that we can show it on stream, is amazing. It's great. We love to have your stuff. What spell do you think is missing in D&D? Dude, if there was a missing spell, I would just make it.
The read memory spell is really cool.
Yeah,
that's a kind of
needs to exist.
Yeah. It's a very unique. Thinking about how that spell can be used, it's very unique. I think that it'll come up as an interesting thing in our campaign later. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Diablo BG asks, how do you avoid people from becoming straight out murder hobos? How do you navigate non-lethal encounters, negotiations? Well, you can watch how I navigate encounters and negotiations and all that jazz just by watching the show. Mm-hmm. As to prevent people from being straight out murder hobos, you have to... Sometimes a DM has a story, and if the players do anything that isn't really about that story, they just kind of let it fall on the wayside, and it doesn't matter. If you want to make the players think about their actions, you have to give consequences to their actions. So if they go around murder hoboing, it should have an effect on the world. Like if they murder people and eventually they'll be seen and there's going to be a reputation about them. You guys have brought in this like dismembered giant into town. Everyone stopped. And I think you noticed, hopefully, that I said like everyone watches you as you walk through town. We had some dramatic music playing and the guards were spitting on the giant. Like you guys are now known in that town, possibly in that entire county, for who you are, and you're going to be associated with dismembering a giant for all time in this. So that is the reputation the party has, and it might spread from there. Eventually, it's going to reach back to Locke's family, and they're going to hear what happened, and God knows how that's going to play out. So
that
if you
is
want people to
crazy.
Not be a murder hobo, you give consequences to their actions, even the ones that aren't like in line with the story, you know?
And I think that's another part of being a part of such a full world, right? Is that, you know, if you try to kill everybody in town, there's this is a classic Shadowrun thing. One of my favorite things about Shadowrun is like if you're just like, have you played a lot of Shadowrun, Koibu, or like encountered it? So Shadowrun is basically Dungeons and Dragons in 2070 something but magic's returned to Earth. So it's the exact same world as we exist in now, but with full magic. And so Shadowrun's a world where you can imagine like, if you were going to do something like you're going to go into a corporation and you're going to go like steal something, right? Well, the police are going to come. There's a SWAT team. There's sniper teams. There's things like, right, things happen. So if you go into a town in Dungeons and Dragons, if you go into, I don't know, like what's one of the capitals in one of your, if we go into like
Thron Rarenta.
That's a long name. How about Crownhold?
Yeah. Sure, yeah. Crownhold.
Yeah, if you go into Crownhold and you start slaying guards, they're going to send guards. And then if you keep slaying guards, they're going to send more powerful guards. Then they're going to send the court wizard, and they're going to keep upping the ante until you're dead. Because that's what happens in a world like that, right? The world responds realistically to what you do.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm almost certain.
Don't go start murdering people.
Yeah, I'm positive that. So there was a point in time in like episode 2 or 3 where we were killing a lot of people. We killed like Tavington's son. We killed like a zillion different people. The servant was like gonna escape, so we killed that guy. And then we were walking along, and there were just these 4 people. Koibu said there were these like 4 guys just kind of hanging out, sleeping in the shade, and just hanging out. And we said like, well, are they hostile or like whatever? Koibu said, no, they're just hanging out. And then we said. And we like had to make a decision, and we walked by, and then Koibu said, they do nothing. They just hang out and they nod to you. Just wanted to see what you guys would do. And I was 100% positive that those were all polymorph adult black dragons, dude. Like, that's like...
Yeah, sometimes you got to keep the players on their toes. Make random rolls that mean absolutely nothing. Just be like, really? Okay, let me get this D20. But like really I just picked up a D12 and it doesn't matter what the fuck it rolled. Like you gotta keep the players sharp. Gotta poke them.
Oh yeah, those random dice rolls are the scariest thing. What's he rolling?
I'm in a campaign with some friends and I've been wondering, how can I become a good GM? Do I need to buy resources or have lots of experience with various mechanics of the game? Absolutely not. This is not a pay to get good at game. Like anything of importance in life, the way you get better is by spending time on it. The more time you think about the game, the more time you spend playing the game, the more time you spend prepping the game, the more time you spend like reading manuals or just like daydreaming about it or watching things related to it, the better you're going to be. Practice makes perfect. So don't sweat it. Make sure to improvise a lot of things and get good at thinking on your feet. Your motto is fake it till you make it, and then you'll realize everyone is faking it at all points in time.
That's brilliant advice for life in general.
Yeah. Does it count as metagaming if Devin uses the wiki to remember things? Yeah, it does.
I didn't do that. I definitely didn't do that.
Sure.
I promise.
It's okay. I don't give a shit, man.
I try really hard not to
do
metagame.
a little bit, but Yeah.
I try
You guys are good.
really hard not to metagame. Like, I even try to not remember, like, the specific spells or, like, CR stats of monsters and stuff like that when I go in. I messed this up a few times, like, early in the campaign, and, like, Reddit just jumped up my ass immediately. Where's guys metagaming? And I was like, all right. So I just, like, really tried to back off. I've never read the wiki. I tuned into Hardcore Heroes and immediately dipped because I was like, oh, I want to watch this, but I'm going to find out something, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There were spoilers in that for what's happening in GTC. So if you guys want to get some like insight to what is going on, like behind the scenes in the world in Gnomes, Tomes, and Catacombs, the last episode of Hardcore Heroes talks a little bit, brushes on it gently, and fills out some details of the region, the parties. La 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 la. Have your dance classes helped you with D&D? No, not in the slightest.
You take dance?
I used to take and then teach ballroom dancing classes way back in the day.
No way. That's awesome.
That's how I met my wife, actually. She was one of the students in my ballroom class.
That's so cool.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else? I kind of skipped through a bunch of stuff here. Do you have any other things you want to bring up?
As far as questions?
Yeah, I haven't read Twitch chat in the slightest this entire time, so I don't know if you've been scouring at shit.
Let's see. Let's kind of look through the questions real quick. So maybe you guys can also look through the questions. You can upvote the ones that you want answered in the Discord. Yeah, and then we can answer a few more. Really up to Koibu on his time. Let's see.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm sure you've got stuff that you want to straight off for this, so whenever you want to bounce, we can bounce.
I'm totally here for you, buddy. As long as you want. I'm going to bed after this, so I'm here. Yeah, no worries. Ow!
As long as the questions are good, we'll keep it up.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see.
Any chance that Anakin gets a mech suit and uses his newfound pain and suffering to fuel the power he will wield against the party? Well, we did just give a wizard who's afraid of the party a giant with massive retribution for the party.
Freaking mecha giant comes back. He's like CR25. The wizard teaches him how to cast spells.
I have been wanting to run a campaign, and we'll probably never get to it, where the party is working. There's a group of gnomes and a group of dwarves who are warring with each other, and they're both trying to build giant robots to fight each other. And the party goes around having to collect resources and like sabotage the other people's attempt, and eventually they build giant mechs and fight each other over the mountains or something like that.
Isn't there a creature in D&D that kind of does this? It's a Tereski that like right?
I guess. I don't know if it's mechy, but
well, you have to like build its arm. You have to like assemble its arms and legs and stuff like that, so it regenerates together and becomes this like horrible shit that like destroys entire countrysides.
Maybe. I'm not familiar with that lore on the Trask, but yeah.
The only thing you can do basically is wish it down. I think it's the only way to kill one. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about Snake Skele lore-wise? Without spoiling. It is definitely a unique creature that is uniquely tied to this group of giants in this place. It has been eating the dead of these giants for hundreds of years. There's a reason it's called a corpse eater. If you saw that in game.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those like small storylines on the side that probably won't really get fleshed out or developed too much because all the people involved with it are dead now.
Wow.
So probably we won't get any details because the party killed all the giants. So it's not there to interact with anymore. As a rule for players, if you enjoy something, don't kill it. You know, if there's something interesting, don't kill everyone involved with it. If there's a cool NPC, like even if you don't like that NPC, don't kill the NPC because then it's gone. If you have a relationship with a creature or with a story or with a town, try not to destroy that thing because ongoing relationships are really great things to have in D&D and they're really, really easy to destroy, much like your personal life. So don't burn your bridges, folks.
I try very hard to kind of explain that to the party and just feel like I make no progress. Like I don't know. In general, like Gerald being a gnome is like, hey guys, like let's not do that, and everyone's like, shut up, dumbass. And I'm like, oh okay, yeah, it's kind of hard. I really like this question. How do gods function in your world? Given Barbo a buff in mid-combat, to what extent can gods influence the world outside of glowing clerics and warlocks' powers? You can answer that as much as you want to answer it. Yeah.
Gods have ultimate control. If they come, so hold on. Their power is somewhat limited when they are not in the world. The gods exist as constellations in the night sky. When they come onto the planet, there's a period of days where they can be seen as a comet traveling from the stars to the ground. So you'll always know if a god is about to show up because there's a fucking comet in the sky. They work through their clerics and stuff. They have an obscene amount of power, especially when they're working through a disciple. What was the question? I've forgotten most of it already.
So the question was, how do gods function in your world? And he says, giving Barbo a buff in mid-combat, what extent can gods influence the world outside of giving clerics and warlocks their power?
Right. So clerics and warlocks are people that have made, well, I don't really deal with warlocks, but clerics have made a deal with their god to distribute their power through them. But anyone can make that deal. Like a cleric is just someone who has done that with them.
Or devoted their life to that deal. Yeah.
Right. So Barbo in this situation has said he will throw his soul to Ephra and make a long-term sacrifice for her. So yeah, she will look out for him as long as he works for her, but he made a fucking blood oath on his life.
Yeah, that was he kind of underestimates how big of a deal that was, yeah.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons I tried so hard to keep him in the campaign, because I don't want him to be like, I'm going to make a blood oath to defeat this thing and then throw away my character.
Good point, yeah.
There's a story there that needs to be unraveled.
That's cool.
Hilariously, he did not need that to kill the creature. It died to the natural damage on his attacks. So...
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It did not help in the slightest in the encounter, but now we have a blood oath made. So that's a win-win for me.
So with your gods, do they gain... so I think there's a series, I've never watched it, but it's called American Gods, but there's a belief system that's basically like gods gain power by the amount of followers that believe in them. So for example, like someone like Yahweh, like the Christian God, right, is like extremely powerful in our world, but then like declines in power a bit as like less people become Christian. And so like that God will influence their followers to try to like gain more power, right? Is that kind of a thing that applies to your world? Or like how do gods get their power classes? How are some gods more powerful than others?
I intentionally obfuscate that.
Yeah,
I want the gods to remain like a domain of mystery that is unknowable. I like the gods work in mysterious ways thing, and I don't want people to actually know the mechanics behind that. I want there to be public discussion about it. I want there to be like random theories floating around, and I want people to try and like come up with a theory and then act on it and try and see what happens. I want to explore these details in game rather than just like hand you the answers to life, the universe, and everything.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Is
it possible?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
You sure? I was just looking at a voted up one on Discord. Have you invented a class?
Yes. For second edition, I have completely rebuilt the cleric class, the wizard class, the rogue class, and added a brand new necromancer class. It's fucking sick. I think right now it's a little overpowered, but it is so good. That is the Dicing with Death campaign that we're currently running. It's Malcifer. It's in Gadia. It's in the north. It's on the top right corner of the map. It's on a small island that used to be a kingdom of its own separate kingdom, but was recently conquered a couple hundred years ago. And he is raising the dead to reconquer the island and return it to its rightful owners, which of course is himself. And that Necromancer class is a lot of fun and really interesting, but it needs like a single player campaign because it's no fun.
It's busted.
If there's like 3 players and they all have their 3-player action economy, and then there's like the Necromancer with 100 skeletons, that's just not very fun to play. You know, it's a power imbalance. I recommend that campaign heavily. Is it possible for a party to kill a god that descended on land?
Whoa.
Ooh, rumors go back and forth. The gods are mortal, the gods are immortal. Who knows? I encourage someone to make a character
To try.
and kill a god.
I wouldn't be surprised if this idiot party tries it. If one shows up. Roll initiative. I'm out.
Yeah, okay, but who's your favorite character, Lily? With all the update votes. Okay, all right. Who's my favorite character? I'm going to talk at you for a little while. I really have been enjoying Locke because he is the first character who has put his morality above his what do you call it? Like before getting shit. Like he has put his morality before personal wealth and personal glory, and that is a rare thing in a D&D character, and I really appreciate that aspect of Locke. All other details aside, that's amazing. Gerald is fucking rhyming like a madman, and it blows me away day to day. He's fucking so good at that, and so on point with all the other things, and great at diffusing situations and bringing up interesting insights. He's been a true joy to play with. Midori has had the most character development and the most interesting character development I've seen in a long time, and I really have, like, that's the whole thing with her, like, switching gods and, like, finding the right god for her. And now, like, with the other stuff she's doing on the side and the role playing with the other characters has been so spot on. It's been great. And then seeing Mr. Mooten switch from, like, Barbo to Barbo to Barbo has been great. But then, like, they've also been funny and interesting and sometimes annoying. And he sort of plays some douchey characters over and over again. But how do you want to say? Like, this is going to sound terrible, and I'm okay with that. But when the, like, ugly, rude, mean sidekick is an amazingly fun character, and without Barbo around to, like, help leaven the campaign and help drive ridiculous nonsense, I think we'd be in a very different place. So it's hard to pick a favorite from these characters who are all bringing something completely different to the game, and I think my favorite character sort of changes from week to week to week. This week, it is a two-way tie between Locke and Midori.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you appreciate the Barbo's sporadic donations? Yes. And he may think that I'm not tracking these things and nothing will come of them, but he's mistaken if that's the case. Try following up on some of these, like, wealthy donations in a few months when the money has had time to take effect in the local communities. La la la. How do you deal with homebrew? I brew it myself. Would you actually kill Locke if we raised 10K? Hold on, let me do a very quick financial. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah. That's like a year's worth of GTC in a single session. I'll take that. Sure.
That's not hard for the Destiny community to do. and they have all the incentive to do it.
Would they kill? Yeah, I mean, if you raise 10K, how do we want to say this? I'm not just going to be like, all right, guys, Locke is dead, moving forward. And that wouldn't be very much fun. If you did raise the 10K, and this is the awkward part, because how do you raise it and then, like, it would need to be sitting in a state of not yours, not mine, while I talk with the player who Locke belongs to. But I definitely want to be like, hey, buddy, someone just offered me $10,000 to kill your character. How can we negotiate around this thing? Because this is something I would like to do. And then we would come to some sort of agreement. And if he was like, dude, that's a dick move, don't do it, then I wouldn't do it. But if he was like, I can't say, like, go ahead, do it, it's fine, I'll make a new character, you know, there would be a negotiation around it. So you'd need to raise the 10K, put it in like a holding account, let me talk to Locke, Steven, and then I'll give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. It's a process to murder players, all right?
You guys should
Now,
just
if
start
you
a
don't want, if you
GoFundMe.
want to ignore the process entirely, you can just PM me 20K, and then it'll just be like, all right, we wake up, Locke, lightning strikes you from afar, and then Destiny curses me out, and Gnomes, Tomes, and Catacombs ends, and the show is over. But I'm 20K richer, and you have paid for a very expensive laugh, and I'm okay with that. I'm very okay with that.
Every man has a price. Koibu just knows what his is.
Yeah. Yeah. 20K to kill off a PC? Absolutely. I have other people that want me to run campaigns for them. I can fill this time slot, guys.
GoFundMe is incoming.
Dickish. Kind of dickish. Let's see.
Could a character ascend to godhood in your world?
Hasn't been tried yet.
Interesting.
Someone should try it.
New mission for the gnome, dude. I think that makes sense for like a god of knowledge, like a silly gnome that just answers in like riddles and.
Could be.
Do the gods in your world accept microtransactions from players?
No, this is not a pay-to-win game. I have some level of integrity. I have tried that before. We had like a fundraising stream for something where chat could like tip $10 and create like random effects or just like declare things. And it quickly descended into just like all of a sudden everyone's pants are missing, and all of a sudden like a blue dragon shows up. And all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
it sounds so dumb.
It got so out of hand. It was a bad idea. Never do it.
This is a really interesting lore question. I wonder how you'll answer. Is what happens when people die in your world? What happens to them?
So, if you look at the pantheon of gods, one of the top gods is called Falumbra. She is the moon, and she is the source of all life. Like, Martha's the goddess of life and creation, but Falumbra is like the container for all the souls of all the people. So when you die, your soul travels across the world to a place where there's a border, and the soul can go down this giant well pit thingy and end up back at the moon, and eventually gets recycled into a new soul somewhere down the line. Probably not like intact as a single unit, since a soul is a divisible unit. We tend to use human souls as a unit of measurement, but it can be broken apart. So in theory, each person born is like an amalgam of previous souls pulled from the world before. Sometimes souls don't make it there for various reasons, but most people, 99% of people, die and their soul gets sucked up into the moon and they become a new person in theory eventually, or maybe a troll, or maybe an ant colony or something.
So if Piccolo destroys the moon, then that's basically it for the whole world?
I
There's
have
no soul?
never even considered what happens if the moon gets destroyed. I don't even know how you could destroy the moon.
Wizard that could cast
think it would
9th level
destroy
spells
reality.
could probably destroy the moon, right? I would think.
I don't know. The moon is a god, right?
Oh,
so
it's
you'd have to fight a god.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's not just a planet; it's an actual god too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the gods, when you look in the night sky in Arcadia and see like the constellation of stars, that is the god's true form. But they're like nth dimensional beings. They're not three-dimensional. They're fourth or fifth or sixth dimensional creatures. So the representation that we see them as stars or as a moon is like only a fraction of who they are, and to truly comprehend them is impossible. It's like, have you ever read Flatland? You should if you haven't, by the way, guys. It's like Flatland. It's a great story.
Is there also a sun god as well? If there's a moon god?
Yes, that is Loomis. He is the sun, and he runs circles around the earth, and his sister is Relkor, and she is the god of darkness.
So darkness itself is a god as well, right? Yeah.
That one's a little bit harder. She is the manifest. She rules darkness, but only exists in contrast to her brother. That area is a little bit more sketchy.
So is there
and not well understood.
Is there a hell also? Like because these demons come from a place. So is there like, I know in traditional 5e, like hell is a really important place. There's a city, like, right? It's Dis. There's Asmodeus. There's like very powerful demons who have significant roles in the world.
There is not really a sense of hell. It's not like a place where you go if you're bad. So the question as to where these demons came from is a very interesting one. And there's written lore about it somewhere. I try not to promote it because I like it when most people don't know where they came from. But if you scrounge hard enough, you can find the demon information right there in chat.
You want me to delete that?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
I will not click the link for you, I promise. Yeah.
It's all right. Whatever.
If you scrounge hard enough, then you can find the link right there in chat. So does that cover like demon lords, like people like I wonder if like creatures like Asmodeus or the Demogorgon and stuff like exist in your world?
They haven't been seen yet.
Okay.
In the world, not in any recent time. Anything that's like a named demon from 5e or whatever is probably not here. I try and customize all my shit.
Sure, yeah.
And my demons are going to be super different since they're not from hell, so I doubt they will have any overlap with traditional demons. There's definitely no like Betezu cruising about.
Do angels in the same way have direct servants like gods, or sorry, do gods have direct servants like angels who kind of like I'd be very curious. The thing is, you don't run campaigns often with super powerful wizards, but like I would be really interested in like what happens when a wizard gates in an angel, right? Like
there are no angels, I don't think. I haven't seen any, and I don't think there's any room in the lore for angels. I'm not going to set that in stone right now, but I don't think we have angels as a concept.
Are there avatars of gods, like very powerful heroes that are imbued entirely by?
That would just be a badass cleric in my world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be a separate thing.
So
either the god themselves comes into the world, or they work through a cleric.
So if a wizard tried to gate in an angel, nothing would come.
Yeah, I don't think it's a functioning concept.
But you could gate a god, because a god would. Has anyone ever gotten to be able to cast level 9 spells in your campaigns?
Nope.
Yeah, that's
nope.
probably
we
smart.
Earlier than that.
Yeah, that's probably smart. They all die before that, you said?
We phase them out before that. We usually retire or they die. I tend to max out around 9th or 10th level because that's the point at which you can sort of dominate an entire continent by yourself. Right around there is where you start being able to like conquer an entire city or conquer a countryside or whatever. And anything beyond that is just,
Trying to think, what are the wizard? What is a? So you said you max out at 10th level, say?
Ish.
What's a 10th level wizard able to do? He can cast, looks like 2 5th level spells. Is that right? Because it's 11th level wizard that gets the power spike to 6th.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
So
5th level spells is usually the max area.
5th level spells are pretty strong. You could conjure an entire Cloud Kill is busted. That's a really strong spell in 5e. Yeah, I don't know if you have anyone that runs that. That is a crazy spell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had someone try and cast that in Hardcore Heroes recently, actually. Didn't work.
No, that is a gnarly spell. Geas is really strong too. I remember the spell from 2e.
Geas is fun. Have you had player characters use that to get NPCs to do their bidding? Super fun. Not very much fun when it's cast on a player character, so I limit access to that spell pretty hard.
Definitely, yeah. This is modify memory. God, there's so many game breaking. Oh, teleportation circle is in this too. So, that's a question I have for you. Is so this is another big thing. Is that back to the Shadowrun world? So Shadowrun, the magic is like this like very active thing, but teleportation just doesn't exist in the world because it breaks a lot of So if you have a world where travel is really important, just like I think in your world it is, right? Where it's like if it takes a week to get back to Bon Theris for us, like that's a consideration that we have to make. Like maybe we don't want to make that journey. Maybe there's like things that will expire or things that will happen before we like if we make that journey, that like things we miss out on. Like how do you feel about like teleportation in the context of Arcadia?
Fucking awesome, dude.
Is it?
Oh yeah. That's an amazing, wonderful power that really unlocks all sorts of doors for you. That's some pretty game-breaking shit. I think teleport's a 5th level spell, right?
Teleportation circle, it looks like you can... I think what you can do is basically you sort of like set up permanent circles if you learn how to do this. Like you can set up permanent circles as a wizard and just like end up different places. And then like you can create networks. So certain wizards could probably teach each other about their networks. It would stand to reason that like certain powerful wizards in Arcadia probably have like that one. Maybe if that Archmage is powerful enough, I couldn't really get a gauge on how he seemed really strong, but I wasn't sure because he was just kind of like any wizard that says I have enough spells is a powerful wizard, I think. So like that guy might have a teleportation circle in his tower, right? That someone could just like drop right into.
Right, but you need access to it. That's interesting. 2E doesn't have a teleportation circle spell.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But Malachi famously just created such a thing and has started creating his own network of teleportation circles.
That's cool.
Although the requirements are way higher than what this 5e requirement is. So if we ever get here, we'll definitely make this more difficult.
I feel like it should be pretty crazy because I think there's a druid spell that's like plane shift, and I think wizards get it later too. Which is like so impossibly busted that you basically just like shift out of the plane of existence as long as you all hold hands. So teleportation is just I feel like in the context of your world, it would completely change the way that you run your like with how much emphasis you put on time. It would be really crazy to be like, oh yeah, we got to do that thing at Eridon. It's like okay, it's just like we're gone.
Yep, you just blink from here to there, and it's no problem. That's why I like the second edition books, because it gives you some restrictions on teleport. If you're trying to teleport to a place you don't know very well, you make a die roll, and there's a possibility that you like land somewhere else, and if you land in a solid object, you just fucking die.
You just totally die, yeah. And
so it gives some constraints, so you can't just be like, I'm going to teleport into his bedroom,
Yeah, like that guy, the guy that teleported on top of the dragon. And
fucked that one up, buddy.
He could have teleported in the dragon. But I think level 5 does give some really. I think actually this maybe the strongest spell and one of the strongest spells outside of like obviously crazy spells in 9e or 9th level, but Wall of Force is probably I think one of the strongest spells in the game.
And when considering the copper economy of this world and how brass and copper are the major metal and iron is super expensive. Wall of Iron is a pretty useful spell.
Oh.
If you can then find a way to break up your permanent iron wall into smaller bits and melt it down, you can start just it's basically a wall of money that you have to melt down.
Well, creation can create infinite gems in theory, right?
I'm not familiar with the 5e spells.
It's
creation
busted. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You can create a permanent stone or crystal, precious metal, gems, adamantium or mithril in 1 minute. Yeah, it's ridiculously good.
Sick.
Yeah. So you could create a 5-foot cube of adamantium.
And then try and find a way to forge it into something.
Yeah, and this is why this is why wizards stop at 10th level of your world.
It gets broken after that, which is fine. Eventually we'll see a higher level character. I think Akuba Knights is probably going to be the first party to break out of that if they survive. They have a history of rolling really poorly.
Really? You would be willing to push characters beyond that limit?
Yeah. I think this is we're nearing the end of this chapter of Arcadia. There's a war brewing, right? We've got this shit between Mystria and Drekis already, and Akuba's in the middle of its own civil war, and Eridon has just crumbled and is falling apart. So whatever happens after this big war is going to kind of settle the area peacefully for a while, or everything is going to be dead. So I think I don't really know. We're going to see. This is my hunch, but I think Akuba Knights might be the campaign to eventually fix the world. I don't know.
Fix the world?
We'll see what. Well, I save Arcadia from total destruction through wars and infighting and other things that haven't quite been seen but have been hinted at. Because I kind of am expecting Gnomes, Tomes, and Catacombs to just cause more problems, but Locke is on such a noble quest that maybe not. Maybe you guys will be the saviors of the world. I don't know.
Well, this actually leads into a super interesting question on Discord, and I just changed the limit on the Discord channel now to be very short. So if people want to ask questions, we can do that. if a player starts affecting your world too heavily, is there a point where you would stop them? Some kind of divine intervention or something? Or would you allow players to theoretically completely destroy your world?
I don't know if anyone would ever have the power to completely destroy the world, but yeah, that's the point of all this stuff, is to just see what happens when we all tell a story together. And if someone gets powerful enough to just fuck up everything, like if someone gets so powerful as to destroy all of Arcadia, that is a fucking epic story that I want to tell. And then I want to tell the story of what happens next. This guy ruined Arcadia. Now what do we, like, what's the fallout from that? And let's play through that story as well.
People are trying to like rebuild. There's pockets of civilization, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if you actually destroy the landmass or sink the island into the ground, into the ocean, like maybe there's an undersea campaign. Or maybe like the lack of Arcadia here has this like disastrous fallout effect across the world where who knows what. I don't know. But I want to see it.
Well, you were willing to destroy an entire continent with Eridon, it sounds like. But have players visited that place since that happened?
You guys are there right now. Well, I guess you kind of skipped around. You went to Wake County, which survived everything.
We're not in the real suck of it, though. We don't know what's in Fortune. Like when we get there,
you are about to cross an area that has been completely desolated by demons.
Oh shit!
And
okay.
Approach a town that somehow withstood the demon invasion. Maybe the demons didn't get there. Maybe they got there and broke against the walls and went away. But you're about to walk across like demon-destroyed territory.
So we're going to a city that literally somehow was able to oppose an entire army of demons.
Right. And maybe they opposed, or maybe the demons just didn't go there, but that city stood when everything else around them fell.
Wow.
And so if you guys want to do your own research into that before you arrive, that might be helpful. Or maybe you'll just like walk in eyes wide and figure it out as you go. Faster and more fun.
Yeah, that sounds like something that we want to ask around about before we went over there.
Sure.
Because that sounds terrifying.
Moonslayer says, "Can you please tell us what was the deal with Hagatha? Who was she? It's been so long and frustrating me that I don't know." Hagatha was an NPC in Hero's in Hero's Graveyard that Steven would have seen when we played through that. She is a mysterious character that I would like to bring into Arcadia at some point, but I don't know how to get her there because she's from Faerun, and I don't deal with Faerun. So
the Fey world, the Fey plane.
No. Faerun is the Forgotten Realms world.
Oh,
We did Hero's Graveyard on the Wizards of the Coast channel, so we were playing in Faerun.
Oh,
is like the only campaign outside of Arcadia I've run. Although with a landmass that came from Arcadia using weird interdimensional travel and stuff. So I guess it's not impossible that Hagatha could show up, or maybe I'll just steal that character and rebuild her for funsies. I don't know. She's great. I'm going to leave you in suspense on who she is.
Brutal.
Is there any reasonable atheism or agnosticism in your world? I don't think so. Because the gods are extremely real. Like, there is magic that they do. They heal people. They kill people. You go to their temple and pray for things, and sometimes your god will actually like come and talk to you in your ear. So if you wanted to be atheist or agnostic, you would sort of have to go out of your way to do it. I think it would be more of like a personal denial, like trying to live in denial of the truth of the world rather than anything else. They exist as provable fact repeatedly.
So this question brings out the mage nerd in me. Is there any instance of epic magic beyond 9th level ever being used in your world?
Yeah. Frozen Frontier just sort of finished up recently, and near the end of that, we saw we got a glimpse of this magical item that these fucking scrags made that essentially was like an orb that could conjure things from one place to another and bind them to their will and then whatever. And this orb was then used to open a portal some sort of other dimension and froze over the entire continent of Caledonia.
Oh.
And it went from being a lush, verdant green area to like an entire icy wasteland. Killed every human on the... Didn't kill every... Froze them in place and time and just let them melt from the inside out. Completely ruined the world. And the gods had to like grab their favorite creatures and like protect them and put them in hiding and change them in order to survive in Caledonia. It's not on the map that you're looking at.
Well, I was thinking of the Talons. You mentioned there was a permafrost event there. So was that similar?
Yes, with a little bit of spoilers, the Talons and the Frostlands, like right near Bondundasir, that is like the extent of the cold from the island to the south that reaches up this far. So at the end of Frozen Frontier, when, spoilers, that shit is removed from this area, that area will cease to be frozen anymore and will thaw out.
That's crazy.
So yes, we do have epic magic. I mean, also the Crown of Domination is pretty epic magic. If you can put that on someone's head, you can control a person. So put it on a king, all of a sudden you run a kingdom. Put it on a whatever, you run a whatever.
But you haven't. You need the Philosopher's Stone to activate that, right?
No. So the crown will work without the Philosopher's Stone. You bind it to some items. So you put like the crown on this guy's head, and it's bound to like your scepter, and whoever carries the scepter sort of dominates this person. The Philosopher's Stone is added into that to amplify the power of the crown, to break out of the normal restrictions that it would use.
Wait,
so it's normally restricted to humanoid, like living humanoid creatures of medium size. But with a Philosopher's Stone, you could probably control undead. You could control giant, like bigger things. You could maybe even control a dragon. Who the fuck knows?
Wait, so we have an insanely powerful magical item on us right now that we don't even know about.
Hugely powerful.
Like, it's powerful without anything else that we do. Yeah, so we don't know that in character. That's crazy.
By its own, you could do crazy epic shit with it.
God, I wish I could use that IC. God, that's insane.
Philosopher's Stone, it's almost limitless, right? And I think this knowledge helps understand why there are these tombs with these incredibly dangerous creatures in them that are marked on this map.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never put two and two together.
If you could control an ageless vampire that's been locked away for thousands of years, and that was under your control, or you could control this like weird corpse-eating monster, or whatever else is in these other checkmark tombs all over the place. So I think we see what Tavington is up to here.
That's really cool. I see.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Put the crown on Captain Barbo and get him to behave. It'd actually work really well.
We can put the crown on Koibu and control the campaign, become DM. Yeah. When you're ready for like a final question, I can ask one. I think I have.
Yeah,
one.
I think we've reached that point. Unless there's anything else.
Sure. Yeah.
Popping up. If the Yetis ever did grow up, how would you have dealt them?
This is a good question, actually.
Given them abilities or perks? Basically, how do you control and maintain pets? Assuming that the players in the world lasted long enough for the Yetis to grow up, it would be highly dependent on the context of getting to that point, but eventually they would have become full-grown Yetis. They wouldn't have become player characters with levels, they just would have grown into their parents. You know, they're monsters. They would have been monsters. Let's see. Would the Crown of Domination work on a god? Go ahead and theory craft the shit out of that one.
Yeah, try it
I'd
out.
love to see what you have to say.
As Matthew Mercer would say, you can certainly try. One of my favorite DM quotes. Which I think is one of the cool things about your world. Also, is I think a lot of times like players will look to a DM and be like, "Hey, like, so what are we doing now?" And you'll just be like, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" You know, and it's such a great thing because it just opens up so many possibilities in the world.
Yeah, it can be a little hard, I think, for some players to answer the question, "What do I want to do?" Sometimes you just don't know what you want to do, and you need a DM to be like, "Here's a storyline to get you going."
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, but this party, the Gnomes, Tomes, and Catacombs party, has done a really good job of setting their own story. And that's really what I prefer. I really like the player-run campaigns where you have the goal that you want to achieve, and it's not the DM saying, this is your goal.
Yeah.
That's the heart and soul of the game.
We even
player-driven storylines.
We even argue about, like, we had, like, in the break, we had this, like, a huge argument about, like, Koibu, when you were AFK for a minute, we were just going back and forth, like, well, we could go back to Bon Theris and find out what that wizard knows. Well, we could go back over here to Eridon and we could figure out what the demons are. Well, we could go back here and do this and do all the other things. And we're just going back and forth, like just like full blown super speed, like just like Lily's just like calmly playing the piano. Like, it's just so great.
All right, one last question, I think. Hold on. Could you dominate the greater red dragon from Mystria? Try it. Ask if any PCs have ever shown up before as NPCs. Malachi is a player character, and while he didn't make a personal appearance, his servants did. So that's the closest we've got. I really don't like playing my players' characters for them. I feel that is like stealing their property and then doing it a disservice. So I will do my best to avoid you guys like meeting Malachi face to face. But if it happens, then it fucking happens, and we'll just deal with it. But he's gonna probably act fairly aloof, just to sort of avoid playing his character for him. If push comes to shove, maybe we could get Nick to show up. But he lives in England, so the time difference would be killer, and he's got like a real job. So he probably couldn't do it.
Bringing someone into the campaign as like a brief like character like guest thing, like if the campaign goes on, would be a very cool thing though. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
I've had my friend Ryan come in and play monsters for me for the Misclicks group was running into a red dragon.
Ooh.
And so I just had Ryan show up. Like, I started the call with an extra cam that was off, and I said my cameras were just fucking up, and they completely ignored it. And then, like, when it came time for the dragon to show up, he just started, like, talking in his deep dragon voice and scared the shit out of them.
That's so cool.
And then they got to, like, talk with the dragon, and I didn't have anything to say over what the dragon was saying because he was taking care of it, and that was fun.
I love it.
Super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
why don't you do it?
Yeah, I have a question for you. I think that's a good way to wrap everything up. And just as a kind of like a personal question, but also I think something that everybody would want is like, where do you want to go with this? I mean, this is your full-time job. You've now been doing this you've been playing D&D for 20 years. You've been full-time for how long?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 years. What do you want to see happen with Arcadia? And like, what are the people, the hundreds and thousands of people that have watched and will watch your campaigns? Like, what kind of feeling do you want to give them? Like, why do you do this? Like, what's your inspiration and where do you want this to go?
I did this because it fell into my lap coincidentally, and it was just too good of a job to quit to go get a boring office job.
Yeah.
And it's taken until maybe last year for me to like, maybe 2 years ago, for me to like sort of figure out what I wanted to do. And I think what I want to do, and I don't even know, I want to tell the story of a whole world. And I want that to build over time. And I want to, like, in 20 years, if I'm still doing this, if the world's still standing in 20 years, the real world.
The real world, yeah. There's a higher chance of us actually ending the real world before we end Arcadia for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're all still around, I want to have a campaign where something's going on, and like the new person pops in, like, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, what's this event that they're talking about? And then have them be able to be like, oh, it was created. Oh, here's an entire campaign about this one like footnote of an event in this storyline, and then like be able to go back and back and back. And I want to see an entire world develop slowly over time, and I want to build an entire world slowly over time. And I think that's really fun for me, because essentially we have like an extended cinematic universe with 12 hours of content created every week. So it's like, 4 Marvel movies of a much lower lower production value, maybe higher quality. Marvel movies kind of suck these days.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing or whatever.
Yeah. Like, it's essentially like an extended cinematic universe that you get to watch unfold all the time. It's like a badass D&D soap opera. So I'm really happy doing this, and I would love to have like this deep, rich history that people can later go back and explore and develop and uncover, and I guess. Yeah, that's my answer.
I think you inspire people, Koibu, and I love what you're doing, and I think I speak for everyone, honestly, and just truthfully, like, you inspire me, and I'm so lucky for so many reasons to be a part of this campaign, and it's such an honor to be playing with you every week. I'm just like, I not only I do full-time streaming, I also work at Nerd Fusion as a CMO, and it's 2 full-time jobs. So like, I stay in the office. I'm still in the office right at midnight, and I'm getting up in the tomorrow morning. And it's been such a joy for me to be a part of this with you, and to do this journey with you. It's such an honor to play under a DM of your caliber. Thank you so much for all the work that you've put into this world to make it come alive, and I hope its story is told for years to come.
Thank you. You're far, far too kind. I'm just like a nerd who fell into playing a bunch of D&D. I'm sure you would be the exact same thing if you were running your own campaign.
Thanks, man. I'm really glad you came on.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay. See you next week.
You shall, for episode 13 of Gnomes, Tomes, and Catacombs.
Look.
All right. Thanks.
All right. I'm just gonna go then.
Yeah,
that's how this works.
I'll close us out, and then if you want to stay on for the closing, we can do that.
Yeah,
do it.
I ain't got shit to do.
Yeah, guys, that's our episode. I'll post a highlight here, and I'll definitely make sure this finds its way on YouTube. If we get some claps in chat for Koibu, and I saw a bunch of hearts. Thank you guys so much for coming out and watching this with us. I actually think that episode 12 was like 1,000% the best episode yet, and it just gets better and better every week, and it's so awesome to see you guys supporting the show and to have so much passion around the characters and everything that's going on. We're just so happy to be here doing this for you guys, and I know I speak for everyone. What I think the energy of at the end of the call with all of the players and Koibu was that it was just really this like entire kind of gratitude that things are really coming together, and it just is as fun for us as it is that we hope for you in watching it. So that's it. Yeah. We'll be back next week. Just also real quick, just a couple of things. I actually do a live Discord of the show. We do like a chat room in discord.gg/Mylixia. Koibu's Patreon here, I'm going to link to. Again, Koibu does this full time because of you who support him to enable him to do this, and that's his Patreon link right there. Please do give him some support if you like what he does, and he does multiple shows and does this all the time. It's awesome. I actually. When GT and C finally does end, I'm really looking forward to going back and filling in the gaps of all the lore so I can look through all this stuff because it's so cool. So I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to broadcast for a little. I broadcast normally every day at 9 a.m. PST. I'll be on with. I'm currently incredibly addicted to auto chess. Neil, I don't know if you know this game.
Dota auto chess. I hear people talking about it, and I hear it's getting its own esports scene now, but I don't know anything about it.
It's intense. It's a really good game. It's a really big brain game. So we're gonna play that tomorrow, and then I'm probably gonna cut the stream a little bit early for Valentine's Day. And I just wanted to thank you guys again for supporting this wonderful show and supporting Neil and Destiny and Lucas and I, and Lily Pichu in making it. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you again soon. Koibu, thank you again for just being you, man.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll see you guys again. Thanks. And have a wonderful night. Thank you guys again so much. Thank you. See you guys again next time.